Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. I'm here with Meredith today.
Hello.
Yes, this is our 2024 contest prep. We're at 22 weeks out.
22.
Time's a flying.
Yes.
It's always faster for the person not doing it.
Correct.
Yes. So we have 2 full weeks in.
Yep.
So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yep.
Yes. Now, a question for you is, have you found in diets in the past, like we know that you've competed before, but also just regular diets, when do you think would be the hardest time? Is it like the first 2 weeks, the middle 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks? Like, when do you think is the hardest mental portion of a diet?
If you were to break it into quarters, I'd say the third quarter.
Ooh. Have any thought as to why
It's
that might
very
be?
specific.
I love that, though.
That's usually a time where you're so close to the show, you know you either need to ramp up, cut back, and make changes. So that's often a more drastic flip, like physiologically. So you remember it being either I'm sleeping less, I'm working out more, I'm trying to get ready so I could not coast the fourth quarter, but...
Well, you don't want to come in behind.
You don't.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd say the third is the hardest.
That's true. And I think by then, too, most people, you've kind of worn out the excitement of the idea. And
It's usually, the shininess is worn off.
Yes.
But you're not quite stage ready, but you're really hungry and you're not sleeping. It's like that Narnia training.
Lost. And then also, usually by then, people have already overreached their willpower and discipline.
Yeah.
So our willpower and discipline, they've done studies and they've shown that they're similar to kind of how muscles respond. Is there is an amount that we have at one point in time. You can build that over time, like you can build muscle strength or muscle size over time. But at one point in time, you literally only have X amount. And what they found is, in order to get more over time, you have to overextend, then give yourself a time of recovery, just like you would with muscles.
Yeah.
So it's really neat to know that it's similar to how muscles respond. But typically at 3 quarters, somebody's reaching the end range of their willpower, their discipline. So now you're in this overreach portion where you have to do things more than you've ever done before.
Everything's exaggerated.
Yes.
Everything becomes exaggerated.
Yeah. So that's pretty tough. Like a 3-quarter mark, I could definitely be tough. And then also, you see some progress, but you haven't seen all of it yet.
That's what I mean. You're not stage ready. So you're just... all the questions start. Am I gonna be ready? It's only 3 weeks away or 4 weeks away, and this isn't gonna look right. I should have been. All the should have started. You start regretting the training sessions if you cut corners, or I should have done more. I should have done more burnout sets, and just everything is. You're not a healthy person in your head.
No. Yes. And I know for people who strength competitions, like powerlifting usually is. The 3-quarter mark of their prep, they're now maybe a month away, 4 weeks away. And they're like, I wonder if I'm going to be able to lift that weight that I want.
So I'm going to do it now and
F up my chance
for the...
So we'll make that a whole separate podcast.
Yeah.
But one of the ways in which people get ready for strength training is the last 4 to 6 weeks, depending on strength level. You have to start to let the body feel good. You have to actually let the CNS recover. So you want the last 2 to 3 weeks to where the person's like, oh, I feel like $1 million. I feel like I go in the gym and crush everything. And you're like, don't yet.
Please don't.
We don't want it in the gym. We want it on the platform.
Please don't.
Yes. But that 3-quarter mark for them has that same sense of doubt, that same uncertainty. Yeah. So that's actually a great answer. Yeah. Of course it's a great answer because it's from you. But
thank you.
The 3-quarter mark is a really good kind of answer.
Yeah. I got asked if I was hangry yet.
Ooh.
2 weeks in.
So are you hangry?
No. I said if I was hangry now, we'd be in for a very long run.
Oh, it'd be major trouble at 22 weeks out.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Am I hungry? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I hangry? No.
I would hope not, yes. So how would you define hangry for those who have not experienced that before?
That's interesting. I feel like everyone jokes about being hangry because they didn't eat for however many hours or a day. Yeah. I remember at work during the prep, I mentioned in the last podcast where people would ask you if you're okay because you're getting really small. And I say yes. And they poke fun of your chicken and broccoli. Okay, we're going to do this again today.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just I remember being like waiting because I knew it was approaching 2 because I was almost ravenous, and I would hear the people in the room say they were hungry.
Oh,
and inside I got irrationally angry.
You don't even know what hunger is.
I might have said that once. Thank God it was a good like project team.
Good.
We were all stuck in a war room together,
Okay.
But we never saw the light of day. We were in that room for months.
Yes.
And so you just say, okay, can you just please stop saying you're hungry because I haven't eaten in 8 months.
Yes.
know, one of those.
Yeah.
So that's hangry, where it's I'm now so hungry I can't sleep sometimes.
Yes, I have found that.
To me, that's a hangry.
Yes, the degree of which people already annoy me gets severely heightened. So, like, if I already feel like I'm annoyed when I'm hangry, it's like, okay, I'm like ready to commit a crime. Annoyed. Yes.
Yeah. So similar levels of hangry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar levels.
Mine's just a little less politically correct.
Yeah. We always said we could probably do a prep together, but oh good God.
I think we would do well because we understand that it's a chosen misery.
Correct.
So you're not going to take that out on other people.
That was, I remember doing the, and partially why I got frustrated with people saying, oh, I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. I remember I spoke with one coach at the time, and it was, don't be annoying because you're choosing to do this. No one cares if you're hungry. No one cares if you're tired. You're choosing to do it. Mm-hmm. So I stay kind of quiet the whole time because no one gives a shit if I'm tired.
No one feels bad for somebody when they're creating their own misery.
Right.
Yes.
And that goes for people that sabotage themselves
universal.
outside of training. So that's another podcast.
Yeah.
But that was very drilled into my head, which makes sense because why am I going to walk into...
It's a great lesson.
Yeah.
You know, I've had
Take
clients...
that away,
yes.
audience.
I've had clients before where they'll get mad at their significant other for like eating certain food.
That's so dumb.
And I'm like, well, they're not... No, that's
So
fair.
dumb.
That's a wonderful... That's okay reaction. I'm like, they didn't choose to do the diet. And maybe they have zero awareness that them eating that is annoying you.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of communicate with them a little bit, you know, and say like, hey, I'm really struggling mentally at the moment. Do you mind not eating that like in front of me? Or can I like go to another room?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
The movie we were watching last night where it's happy birthday, I didn't get you a cake because I didn't want to have to eat it.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's not for you. It's not your birthday,
oh my
it's my
God.
birthday.
But how many people think like that?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Anyway,
yes.
It just made me think of that.
But yeah, then yeah. So good.
So hangry.
Yes. But I think that's fun to discuss because when somebody's new to that experience, new to that feeling, we tend to be more vocal. We tend to be more whiny. So it's nice to hear a perspective of, oh, that's true. I am kind of creating this on my own. I probably need to not be such a butthead, you know, to the people around me if I'm struggling mentally, emotionally.
Don't be a little, you know what? No one cares.
Yes. Or communicate and just be like, oh my gosh, I feel like, oh, I'm just struggling so bad today. Rather than like,
hey everyone, I'm 3
it.
weeks from a show. I'm probably going to be really quiet, so
Yeah.
I don't say something I'm going to regret.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for what I said when I was hungry.
Yes. That's how you and I respond when we're hungry is we tend to just be quiet.
Yeah. We respond to a lot of things by being quiet.
Which is good. It's kept us out of jail.
Yes.
Yes.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Yep.
I swear we're nice people.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely.
We're the same person in our head.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
scary.
Don't go there.
Yes. So moving on. So in the last 2 weeks, one of the things I want to touch on is we have seen physical change.
Yeah.
Yes. So since we're married, I sometimes see you naked.
Yeah, from time to time.
From time to time.
Yeah.
And so I could see it the other day when you're getting ready for the shower. Your abdomen's looking cleaner. Like you can see more oblique lines, more abdominal lines.
Yeah.
The line up your thigh, the separation between the quadricep and the hamstring is getting more clear.
Yep.
So that's really cool.
And the like lower pocket holding water in my glutes saddlebag.
Yes.
Because even if fat holds water, but that was a very watery pocket because I was just constantly stressed.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's less.
And we've talked about that, like where your body stores fat. There is there's places in everybody's body where there's certain portions of the body that holds more fat than other parts, and within that spot you can, when you're high in cortisol or really low in like carbohydrates, like glycogen, there tends to be more water in those areas.
Yeah.
And that's where somebody will look like flat but still watery. So we're seeing less of that, which is definitely helping a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel better. I feel tighter.
Good. I was about to ask that.
I feel tighter. I feel like I look better.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a long ways away from where I want to be, but I feel like in 2 weeks.
2 weeks in, like, if you were there in 2 weeks, I don't know what your quality of life was outside of that. If you were 2 weeks away from contest all the time, probably miserable.
Oh, talk about hangry.
Yes. So along with that, we've seen two weeks of physical progress. Product. But yeah, so in 2 weeks we've seen physical change in a positive way.
Yes.
Do we want to share with them our weight change?
Yes, we can talk about numbers in fluctuation
Yes.
versus actual numbers.
So in 2 weeks of dieting, you've gained 4.5 pounds.
You're fired.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, so we found we've been weighing ourselves at least twice a week, Monday and Thursdays, usually. And that's a usual routine I like. But it kind of gives you an idea. Mondays, you get an idea of what's happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
And then from Monday to Thursday is usually when people are the most precise with everything. You want to say what you want to say? I can see it busting out of you.
I just keep laughing because this morning he goes, "Do you want to know what the scale said?" Like excited. And he goes, "You went up 2 pounds." I was like, what the shit?
How do you have excitement in your voice when the weight went up? Yeah.
It still makes me laugh.
Yes. And the reason why I was kind of excited is it's just another data point.
It's data. Ooh, exciting.
Yes. Yeah. So the sciencey part of my brain took over.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's fine. Many of our other podcasts, I say the scale is just a data point. So it's not, I'm not saying screw this.
Yes.
Right? I've been busting my ass. The diet's good. The training's been hard. Up 4 pounds. Okay.
And you look better. You visually look better.
And like you said, we're in a sport where you get judged on how you look, not how much you weigh.
Yes. And I think a lot of women would be surprised how much women weigh when they're on stage. You look at a lot of the professional women outside of bikini class.
Heavy.
If you look at wellness,
dense
figure,
people.
150s to 160s is not an uncommon body weight.
Normal.
Yeah.
But they look like they're 110.
Yes.
Right? I remember when I... a whole separate podcast. But I remember my mom saying, the muscles were ew.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's not exactly supportive, but we'll go with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking. What are you going to do? And I showed her a photo of my back relaxed outside of the gym versus my back on stage.
Yes.
And it was within a week of each other. And I said, do you see you don't always look like you're the Hulk walking around? Painted, tan, And she kind of was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't really. I'm going to take that thought or take that opinion and throw it in the trash. But
yeah, it is hard to manage. You would think that if somebody doesn't like the way someone looks, you would not mention that and then compliment them on something else. Oh, wow, I know you've worked really hard for this. I'm really happy for you that you've gotten the results you wanted. Not, you look like shit. Or ew, you look gross. That's awful. Why would somebody say that out loud?
Yeah, my dad was showing photos of me. Look at my daughter. Look at this. Look at how strong she is. He also made me do one-arm push-ups for his friends.
That's awesome.
Show me your one-arm pull-up. Show me your one-arm push-ups. Okay, Dad.
Yeah. But it is challenging. We can touch on that for a second. Is how do you mentally process negative feedback?
You don't. You just, okay.
Okay.
I don't
you just
care.
Swallow it.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Care.
Well, how do you dismiss it? How have you been able to not care? That's an odd question.
A lifetime of shit, Rob.
There you go.
You get used to it. You build up some tolerance over
build up some
years.
thick skin there.
You do. You have to build up thick skin.
Yeah.
And because we're always delivering the brutal truth, my divorce did it.
Ah, good. Yes. And how? How so? You don't have to share too many things if you don't want to share two things.
I'm happy to share anything because someone else is going through something somewhere. I thought I did everything right? We didn't live together. We didn't have sex before we got married. Everything was, wow, he lets me be super independent and I don't have to check in a million times a day. They just let me be me, right? And then fast forward, and I thought, wow, this is really not a good situation. Psychologically, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it up to family. My mom was supportive. I'll just talk about the other half, and it was, I was told, I was a disappointment.
Oof.
And you're going to end up alone.
Oof.
And a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is what I want to hear when I also just lost my job and I'm alone.
Yeah, Jesus whiz.
So going through that, and then your whole half of your family doesn't talk to you anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
You kind of have to build up a thick skin.
Yeah.
And I remember that being a turning point because I would do so much to I was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
But like DSM, whatever. People pleaser.
Yeah. Yes.
Meredith Whitman.
Yeah.
And I just had to power through it, right? I couldn't let those negative thoughts, because it could be paralyzing. It had a potential to be paralyzing to me.
Yeah.
And I just had to, okay, I still have to work today. I still have to train today. I still have to do these things today.
Mm-hmm.
And trust that I'm going to be made fun of by my family because, oh, look at Meredith, engaged again, or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And it's like one of my favorite quotes is, lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep.
Yeah, I love that quote. Yes.
And I had to go through some solitary moments of just working through that. And granted, not everyone's going to have something like that to make them stronger.
Well, you're right, but at the same time, that might be their experience. Like, say maybe they're trying to lose weight, and somebody says something negative to them.
Yeah.
And I think what they can take away from your story is you knew the choice that was going to be better for you.
100%.
And no matter what somebody said, no matter how much it hurt, you knew the alternative of not progressing.
Yeah.
Was like you still had to progress. Like it was still going to be a better option, even if nobody understood. I have to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what the listener can take away is like, even if people aren't supportive, even if they're not understanding, and sometimes the significant others will sabotage the process.
Oh, I've been there too.
Yeah.
Awful.
You have to, you want to be able to work through that because there's a better you on the other side.
Yeah. Was that TMI for podcast?
Never TMI.
Never TMI.
No, I think dropping the F-bomb and I'm trying to think of what I wouldn't have shared in life.
Yeah. But how do you get mentally stronger? Well, let me tell you.
Just deal with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But that's how do you make your muscles stronger? You go in the gym and you make them deal with shit.
Yeah.
you put some heavy things on them, right? How do you make progress in life at all? We had a recent podcast about when life gets hard.
Make it harder.
Make it harder.
Yep.
And I talked about that in a great podcast. Well, not only my opinion, I've actually had people reach out and say they really liked it. So, of course, it's my opinion. It's great. Well, actually, there are some podcasts that are probably just phoning them in. But that one was a good one. But that's true in life is how you get stronger is through pushing yourself through moments of questioning whether you can survive in various ways. Yeah. And then somehow you do. And now all of a sudden you're stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I had to really develop a thick skin. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure everybody has their own variety of that.
Oh, everybody has had their worst moment.
Yeah.
We talk about strength is relative.
Yeah.
Somebody hits a PR of 135 pounds, but then they go on Instagram and see somebody doing 700 pounds. Yeah. That doesn't devalue the 135. Yeah. That's still badass. That's still huge. It's still amazing in your life.
Yeah. And part of it is I think you have to be that type of person that seeks it out. Mm. Not like I'm going to self-sabotage and seek out the shit, right? But it's, for me, I always had jobs for a long time where my managers were like, "You're doing great." Mm-hmm. Okay, but what could I do better? And I didn't get feedback for 10 years, which that seems like that could be an easy route where you seek that out and then all of a sudden you have this inflated sense of self. Mm-hmm. But I sought out a manager that would give me feedback.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, okay, if you decided to be hungry and compete, don't complain that you're hungry.
Yeah, it's part of the process. You made the decision.
Yeah, where, okay, I'm going to take this feedback because I'm going to grow significantly.
Yeah.
And it's just, you always, when I had 2 placements for student teaching, and it was either Center City or West Philly or Downingtown, Pennsylvania. which
sounds like
literally-
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton, Pennsylvania. Bridgerton High. It might as well have been.
Yeah.
I want to say Tina Fey either went there. It
Oh,
was
that's
wherever
cool.
Tina Fey went, because that's what Mean Girls was written about.
Oh.
And
That might have been scarier than Philly.
that was my high school, I'll tell you that. I went into the office and I said, okay, this is clearly a mistake. And they said, oh yeah, that's never happened before. I said, oh, that's fun.
Yay.
What do I do?
Yeah.
I said, you pick, I guess. And I mean, everybody wanted Downingtown. That was like so hard to get placed there.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll do Philly because I'm scared to do that, so I'll do it.
That's an amazing reaction.
So you have to have a little bit of a twisted mindset to also either be in uncomfortable situations to grow a thicker skin.
Yeah, like you have the desire to be better regardless of comfort.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, sometimes you have to kind of give yourself some comfort, recover, and then push again. And then another part of that aspect is you'll find in life, and I don't know if I'm overblowing this, if I'm wording it correctly, but when you want to continue to make progress, the more progress you make, the less company you have.
Absolutely.
So you start to go past where other people are willing to go.
Yep.
And they either then don't support you, don't understand it, or fight against it. And unfortunately, it starts to become rarer and rarer, areas and territory and places to be.
Yeah.
So it's harder to find that same quality of support over time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have to be very selective and seek out people with the same mindset. And that's why, like, friendship pools,
why I
as
love
you
my
get
class so
advanced in
much.
life, become smaller and smaller.
Yeah. And that's why I love my class so much.
Yeah, explain that.
Kellogg.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, Kellogg.
My Kellogg class.
Yeah.
70, lost count of how many of us there are.
70-something.
3, 4-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than likely, it's such a good group of people.
That's awesome, yeah.
And it's like you kind of have to blow through life a little bit and build that thick skin and get to a point where you're now surrounded by people that I don't think I've ever been in a room with so many folks that think like me. This is going to sound really weird on a podcast.
No, that's
like
okay. It's people listening to this podcast are seeking out to be better. They're going to start to realize that it's an isolative process
yeah.
at times.
Yeah. And I mean, when we were looking at schools, it was, okay, I'm going to look at the M7, but huge imposter syndrome. And
Yeah.
do I fit? And that's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, got into Kellogg. Okay,
You got acceptances from a bunch of places, so you
Yeah.
fit really well. Good for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But that was okay, that's going to be another period of significant growth.
Yeah, and that's definitely, what's awesome is you've found a place in the world
Yeah.
that has 70-some like-minded people,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
And they're
rare.
already, a handful of them know I'm competing, and they're already supportive.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I didn't have
Yeah.
that when I competed last time.
No, you had
I was
nothing.
alone on
you
an
had
island.
nobody. Well, you had your trainers. Like, that was very,
Yeah, yeah.
trainer was very supportive.
Yeah,
But-
the one that I trained with at the gym, not the
Yes.
diet per se.
Yeah, so the trainer was very supportive, and
Yeah,
that's
we had a
awesome.
good
You had
time.
that.
We had a
Yeah.
good
But outside of that, there wasn't much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's, I think, good for people to hear. I know we're way off topic, but I actually think
Are we
all
off
of this,
topic?
I was going to say, I think it's all related, all interrelated.
Because
Yes.
when you go through something like this, your head goes to all of these places.
Oh, absolutely.
All of these places.
Yeah. So when somebody gives you a negative comment, it doesn't mean that you need to value that above your own thoughts.
Yeah.
So if you're like, no, like if you don't like the way I look, it's not your body. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I know what I want to look like. I'm going to keep working.
Right.
But it's hard to at first make that kind of
Yeah.
mindset shift because we
Yeah.
are influenced by what people think, and it's harder to take that away, like to reduce that.
So now, unlike my answer where I say you just go through a lifetime of shit,
Mm-hmm.
how would you handle that if you say, I mean, I know it's not a perfect world and it's not like no one ever doesn't face diversity. That was a lot of double negatives. But what
I
if
didn't
someone
go there.
hasn't gone through so much and this is their first hugely uncomfortable experience?
Going back to the quote, lions don't lose sleep over the thoughts of sheep. Go
your
find another lion.
True. Yeah.
The person who's
Absolutely.
talking to you, are they a sheep or are they a lion?
Yeah.
And you'll know that. What do they do in their life? Do they try to advance? Do they progress? Do they kind of stay the same? If you're doubting yourself, go talk to a lion.
Yeah.
And like I've had clients send me, or potential clients, they're like, hey, I want to do powerlifting and marathons, but my current coach says you can't. I'm like, well, screw that shit. Like, come on over.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's when you find people who have accomplished things or willing to try crazy stuff, you'll find that they're much more positive, much more supportive. They're gonna tell you obstacles and roadblocks you're gonna hit, but they're gonna tell you in the light of as you're going, you're gonna hit these. Not these exist, don't try at all. Screw that.
Yeah.
So go find some lions. Go find some people who've done some cool shit.
I like that advice.
Yeah. And that helps a lot.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So we were going back to we have gained 4.5 pounds in 2 weeks. What I want to touch on that is, are we freaking out because of that? And if not, why not?
I'm not freaking out.
Okay. So you answer your part, and then I'll answer my part. Is why does that not scare you?
Because it is physiologically impossible to be fat. Physiologically impossible.
You can't possibly have gained 4.5 pounds of fat in the last 2 weeks.
Impossible.
Yes.
And I've had a lot of experience, so I say, okay, that's probably just, the body freaking out because I haven't been training like this until now.
Not this consistently and this frequent.
So I say, okay, I look to my coach to say, what do I do? Is this what you would anticipate given my lifestyle before and my current situation?
Yeah.
How do we course correct it all? Do we stay on the path? If you tell me to stay on the path, okay, cool. I'm not freaking out. I look better. I feel better.
Yeah, and that's a couple of good points. Number one is you have a coach, so ask around. So even if you're doing it yourself, ask some other people who've been through the same process.
Yes.
And say like, okay.
Not just someone that did a diet once.
No, yes, please. Like if you're dieting to get on stage, ask somebody who's literally been on stage.
Correct.
Yes. You want to find people and not only once, maybe they've done it multiple times, or maybe they've coached other people to it.
Yeah.
So the more in-depth experience they have for themselves and with others, the better their advice would be. So, lean on feedback from the process or the coach or whoever you have to trust in. And then the other part is you touched on 2 key points. Number one is you look better.
Yeah.
We're in a look better competition.
Yeah.
So if we're looking better in 2 weeks, clearly something is going well, even if we don't understand it.
Right.
I look better. My goal is to look even better. I'm on track to get better if I look better.
Right. I'm on that trend line upwards.
Yes. We're not in a weight loss competition. There's no scale on stage.
Yeah. True.
There's literally no one knows what anyone weighs.
You're not even in a weight class, you're by height.
That's true. Yes.
So
literally no one knows what anybody weighs. So whatever you weigh doesn't matter. It's a guide because we know you likely need to lose weight in regards to body fat to get down on stage. But in the first 2 weeks of a 24-week process,
makes
not
sense.
the end of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one is we know it's physiologically impossible because you have not eaten enough. You haven't eaten excess calories. And there's no possible way you've eaten excess calories enough to form 4.5 pounds of body fat. So we said, in general, that would be about 14,000 plus extra calories in 14 days. You have not had 1,000 excess calories every single day.
No way.
No.
Not even possible.
We've been eating just under maintenance calories and then using our training every day as a way to create a caloric deficit. So we've been in a deficit every single day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had to bust out the cinnamon gum a couple times.
Yes. So then the question becomes, if all of that is true, well, why are you still 4.5 pounds heavier? And that is the water retention in the muscles. So we've been damaging the muscles every other day. We're training the same body parts.
Yep.
So we're doing upper, lower, infinity. And the muscles are processing the damage. They're processing the recovery of trying to bring in the electrolytes, bring in the nutrients, bring all that stuff in to damage cells, and then we're jerk faces and we just damage them again. So what's happening is the body is pulling water and resources into the muscles for recovery, and then we just keep creating the need for recovery. So beforehand, we weren't training as consistently, as intensely, so there wasn't the body's need for the extra material, the recovery material in the cells. So now that we are creating that damage, we are creating that stress, the body needs that material, and the material is coming via water.
Yeah.
Yes. So it has to come in some carrying system. We're not going to produce infinitely more blood. So it comes in water.
No.
Yeah. So that's what's happening right now is your body's retaining water within the muscle cells to process the damage in the recovery process.
Yeah. No.
So therefore, we're 4.5 pounds heavier of just simple water weight, not fat weight.
Yeah. So for the folks I'm going to tee you up because I might know answers.
Okay.
But maybe people listening are asking some questions.
Hopefully I don't whiff. Let's see what this question is. Yes.
I drink almost a gallon of water a day.
Yes.
Is that contributing to how much water I'm holding?
Positively, yes. Meaning it's a good thing.
Yeah. So talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah. If you're not drinking enough water, your body can't have the water to retain all the positive electrolytes and nutrients in. So therefore, you're going to be under recovered. Your muscles are going to be tight feeling. They're not going to be recovered, so they're going to be increasingly more sore. You're not going to have great digestion because your body's trying to process food and it requires water to process food. So hydration is important. How much hydration you need is about 1 ounce per pound of body weight. That's a rough estimate, so,
grain of salt.
Yeah, grain of salt. But get you in the ballpark. So if somebody weighs 150 pounds, they want 150 ounces. That's very challenging. Most people do not drink that. Most people barely get in like half their body weight in ounces. And that's unfortunate because the more water we consume, the better we feel overall. Digestive quality is better. Daily energy is better. Just all things go better. You have less tight muscles. Like overall, your mood is better, actually. I've helped so many clients where when they consume more water, they have just felt better throughout the day and they were less grumpy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're doing a great job with water intake, and that's definitely a positive influence in the process. So if somebody's experiencing, okay, I have less calories and protein coming in, my recovery is going to be impaired. Training super intense, my recovery is going to be even greater demand. One of the ways I can protect against that process and make it feel better is to drink a ton of fluid. And that would be about 1 ounce per pound of body weight.
Yeah, and I supplement with the electrolytes from NutriCost.
Yes, because you're at a caloric deficit where we're burning through most of what we're having, so we are going to be, and then you consume pure water. So that's going to dilute electrolytes.
Dilute a lot of it.
Yeah, so we actually do have electrolytes from NutriCost, which is a great company.
Really good.
They test out very well whenever you would read testing of what's actually in products. NutriCost has done well in their tests, and price is very reasonable. So yeah, we said even Brian Johnson uses.
Yeah, we were watching one of
NutriCost.
his videos, and I said, "Hey, look, NutriCost.
Yeah,
we're on the right track."
Yes, and I was like, heck yeah. But that would be a good idea is to supplement with electrolytes.
Yeah.
People will sometimes ask, do you need amino acids, like branched chain amino acids? No. It's not until you're in like a major caloric deficit. I would say that if you're getting a decent variety, or especially 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein, you're probably fine.
Right.
Yeah. Would it hurt? No. I mean, I drink amino acids, essential amino acids every day as a water
Supplement.
Flavoring because I don't like, I've tried Crystal Light, I've tried other things, and I actually like the taste of this amino acid powder.
Also from
NutriCost, yeah. And it's actually around decent cost as what any kind of water flavoring would be, a low calorie, no calorie water flavoring. So if it happens to have proteins in it, great. But I'm not doing that as a way to supplement growth. I'm eating roughly 4,000 calories a day. I'm fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes. So I happen to be doing it just because I like the flavor.
Double my calories, double my weight, double the fun.
Hey. But yeah, so if somebody's looking for a water flavoring and they happen to use a branched chain amino acid for water flavoring, great. But do you need to spend the money on that? Probably not.
No.
No.
Like your one weekend, don't freak out about a bajillion supplements you feel like you need to take.
Yes.
You're good.
Yeah. So do you need to get coffee?
I'm going to get coffee.
Okay. You go ahead and get up and get coffee, and I'm going to talk about the next step.
Okay.
Okay. I saw her looking to get some coffee. So we've touched on that we've seen physical changes along the way. So it's 2 weeks in, we can already see that we're aesthetically looking better. It's 2 weeks in, we've gained 4.5 pounds, but we're not freaking out. So now what I want to talk about is we have made some food changes already. We did a weigh-in kind of earlier in this week, and I saw that the weight was going up. And when I started Meredith with her calories, I just took whatever she had been currently eating that was around 2,400 calories, and that would be roughly around her maintenance level. And what I'm seeing is, and we were about 9-10 days in at that point, and I'm like, okay, we're eating enough to sustain the process. Meaning, in the first 10 days, she didn't lose like 10 pounds, which would represent her body was in a significant deficit that would start to increase cortisol, increase like CNS stress, and start to like deplete her too early in the process. So at that time, I'm like, okay, I knew when I started, we were just eating kind of what would be generally healthy. No excess, no major deficit. Now that we've gone through the first 10 days, which would be like 5 lower body workouts, 5 upper body workouts, a lot of training, her body is sustaining the process pretty well. Your hunger level was okay. Like you were hungry for each meal, but you weren't like crazy starving. And the body was recovering well from the training. So great. We have a healthy environment established. So now we can go ahead and start kind of pulling out a little bit of the calories to start promoting fat loss, but not so much that our recovery goes to shit or your energy goes to shit.
Metabolism is
We want everything still to go well. But at that point, I can see, okay, we established a healthy environment, time to move on. So we added protein to lunch, but took away carbs at dinner.
Yes.
So when we first started, we were around 2,400 calories with 130 grams of protein. I wanted to bump protein up to make sure that we improved recovery and muscle growth in spite of even bringing calories down. And they've done studies, they can show that you can build muscle in a caloric deficit, assuming the caloric deficit doesn't go under BMR. So we know, okay, if I reduce calories down, we reduce down to 2,050. So we took away 350 calories, but we added protein. We're now at 160 grams of protein.
Good.
That change is going to start to promote fat loss, but maintain muscle recovery and muscle growth. So that was one change that we made. Our change, if you've been following along, Meredith had chicken and rice for dinner. We just cut the rice in half. And then at lunch, we were having bonza pasta, which is a chickpea pasta, which is higher in protein than regular pasta. She was having bonza pasta with just a typical kind of like salad dressing, like an oil dressing. And we added 6 ounces of chicken to that. So now your lunch is actually more food.
And flipped it with pasta sauce instead of dressing.
Yes, so that was a calorie equate.
Yeah.
So we switched the calories from the oil dressing to a marinara sauce.
Yeah.
But same calories.
Yep.
Yeah. So we added food actually to lunch. We took a little bit of food volume away from dinner. We traded carbs out for protein in.
I remember what we wanted to add because we're talking about the lunch. We when we did our Instacart, we got an accidental extra bag of fruit.
Yeah, which is ironic because you love fruit, and
I
within
do.
a week of us starting a diet, all of a sudden we get free fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. So what do we do for that?
I said, I don't want to waste the fruit.
Because I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And so what can we take out of my diet to put fruit in so it doesn't go to waste? I still get to enjoy the fruit.
Yes. So we took out a bobo, which is like an oat snack.
Bar
Oat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like imagine an oat bar with a little bit of jelly inside.
Delicious.
Yes. So we took that out and we replaced 2 apples.
Yeah, 2 apples for a boba.
Yep. So, and that's like a nice variety, is carb for carb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and is the sugar going to hurt us? No, because we're pairing it with the pasta and the chicken.
Protein.
And yeah, so it's going to kind of like blunt some of the sugar response. Plus, you don't have to worry about sugar like spikes after an apple because there's just not enough calories or carbs in an apple to. If the sugar is spiked and then the body delivers all that to the cells, we would then say, oh no, if the cells don't use it all, it's going to create body fat. But there's not enough excess in the apple to actually create body fat.
Show me your fat fruit friends.
Yes. Yeah, so Nate Bargatze is one of our current favorite comedians. And he has a thing, like a stand-up act, where he's talking about he switched candy to fruit because he's wanting to lose weight. And somebody said, oh, you got to be careful about all the sugar that is in fruit. And that's when he said, show me your fat fruit friends.
Yeah, I'll worry about that when we cross that
Yeah,
point.
he's like, I'll let you know when we get to that point. Yeah, meaning like, I'll let you know whenever I can't get lean enough that fruit
apples.
is not my problem. Yeah. And meanwhile, this is a guy who eats, like, reportedly, he tells you on himself that he'll go out of his way to eat donuts.
Donuts and...
Yeah, and he eats fast food all the time. He said one of his favorite restaurants is McDonald's, which is not a favorite restaurant. That's a place people go, like...
You've had people lose weight on McDonald's?
That's true. I've helped somebody lose 30 pounds on eating McDonald's only for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
Yeah.
The opposite of Super Size Me.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, that's great. But, yes, so that's funny. So fruit is a great thing. You can still fit that into a diet. Where would we get in trouble? I have literally had, this is 100% true, I had a client one time that was eating 10 apples a day. Yep. And because he asked me...
Did they stay out of the bathroom like all day?
I have no clue. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But he was wanting to lose weight, and he asked me if fruit was okay. And I was like, yeah, you can have fruit. It's not going to be the end of the world as long as our protein is good, as long as our calories are controlled. And then I find out that he's eating 10 apples a day, and I'm
Good grief.
he's losing weight. Like, we made progress, but I was like, that's not the best
You're
sources.
like, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, there are better options for us
Buddy.
than 10 apples a day.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have seen, oh my God, like the amount of things.
I remember
has been
helping
fantastic.
someone. They're like, I can't just lose the last 5-10 pounds. I said, long-time family friend. I said, can you just track your diet for a week, send it to me? Breakfast was like apple, grapes.
Yeah.
Lunch, orange, something, whatever. And I went,
How are you alive right now?
Yeah.
How are you not killing everyone
we threw
around you?
protein in at breakfast, more protein in at lunch, and cut her dinner in half, added protein. She lost 10 pounds in like 3 weeks, 4
Perfect.
weeks.
Magic.
Like,
Magic.
please add protein.
Yes. But yeah, that's true. We get people telling us all the time is, I eat healthy, and it's like, what'd you have for breakfast? Grapes.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the rest of the
Might
breakfast?
as well have coffee for breakfast.
Yeah, true. But that was so that was one of the food changes we made this past couple days.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because last weekend when we were doing, was it like the start of the week? And we weighed, it must have been Saturday, and you said we weighed myself, and you talked about, okay, we're probably going to make these diet changes next week. And I was like, can we start now?
Well, when we weighed ourselves, I think it was Monday or Tuesday we weighed, and we were like, oh, okay, yeah, the weight over the last 10 days, 10 days has been sustained. So the body's not in a crazy deficit. We're not in a miserable state. Let's go ahead and start pulling food down. Yeah. So with clients, I'll often make changes on a weekly basis. So they start fresh on like a Monday with changes. Since we live together and like we both share in making the food, it was just easier to make the change that day. Yeah. So, but for clients, if you change things on a weekly basis, that's totally fine. That's still going to be really good progress. I just find that usually if somebody has to change their weekly food, it's nice to do that to them on a Saturday or Sunday because they have a chance to go to the grocery store. They have a chance to kind of plan their food out. Whereas like if on a random Tuesday night, I'm like, okay, starting tomorrow morning, we have to make these changes. That's a little pressure. That's a little psycho. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time making that transition that quickly. Sure. Yeah. So, the other thing we've changed this week is we started to get a little more intense in our training.
Yes.
So initially when we first started, we just wanted to get your body used to training every day again and used to the upper, lower. So when we first trained, we had to just move some things because we knew in 48 hours we were training the same muscles again. And we were just normalizing consistent nutrition, consistent protein. So we're creating an environment in which the body would have the resources to manage recovery. So you can't just slam the body right away before that environment is established. So we kind of started with decent intensity, started with decent food. Now that the food's established, we can start to push the intensity. Right. The point of pushing the intensity is it increases our caloric deficit. So we did bring down 350 calories, but we're also going to bring up the caloric demand from training. So that's going to create a larger deficit than what the 350 looks like. By increasing the deficit, it's going to increase fat loss. So how does weight training intensity increase caloric deficit is the more muscle damage you create, the more systemic damage you create per workout, then the recovery demand between workouts is higher. Have you felt any difference yet in hunger levels or anything?
Yes, the day after we trained really hard, so much so that my knees were sweating.
Yes.
I felt hungrier.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. So you and I have talked a little bit about it, and I want to touch on it now. Is we talked about the ways in which you can manipulate caloric deficit is eating more or less, weight training more or less, but then also just step count, like general daily activity.
Yeah.
And people would throw in supplements. Depends on the type of supplementation you're willing to take. But supplements could be easily a fourth part of that process. So for us, we're manipulating calories, we're manipulating workout volume, and now we're considering getting a pedometer to start to manipulate step count.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to start to look at that. You got a standing desk?
I did.
So that way it helps you kind of be more active during the day?
And it should help my migraines.
Yeah. Have you found that you like the standing desk?
I love it.
Yeah. What's some things you like about it? Like, what do you feel that you like about it?
Interesting. I haven't tried to put that into words before. One, my posture is better. because if I'm at the desk, I'm hunched over.
Mm-hmm.
So I like being able to stand. Sometimes it's easier to focus.
Ah.
I don't know why.
Well, if I'm sitting, I fall asleep. So
This is true. That's true.
yeah.
I like it because I can also kind of shift in my weight, like just move around. It's easier to just step away and take some steps and come back.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
I really like it. I've felt a difference in the tension in my back.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it.
Awesome. And that's like a desk that sits on top of your desk.
Right.
So we didn't get like the full standing desk where it's like the entire entity.
Right.
Not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. Do you remember offhand what the cost of this thing was?
$150.
So it's manageable. It's a manageable cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has like little hydraulic things so you can set it to different heights. But it is a good option. So if somebody is wanting to improve posture, they're wanting to improve daily energy, they're wanting to maybe be healthier, just lose a little bit of body fat, a simple standing desk can actually make quite a difference.
Right. Because somehow you're instantly more aware. And maybe that's part of the, I don't know, it's probably a gross overgeneralization, but when people sit and they just mindlessly eat,
Well,
it's like if you're sitting, you're all of a sudden more relaxed, you don't pay attention, you're not as self-aware.
And plus also people eat to stay awake. Like truck drivers I've worked with, oh my gosh, they will eat
Probably the worst
excessive because
diet.
they have to stay awake, but they're sitting, they're not literally doing anything, so they're mentally on like, oh my gosh, super mentally active because they have to pay attention to everything around them, but they're physically not doing anything, so it's hard to stay awake. So they will snack, and that gets them in big trouble calorie-wise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had many a cookie trying to drive every night before.
Many a cookie.
Many a cookie.
Yes.
The Starbucks ones. Those are dangerous.
So usually I'll drink like 4 energy drinks in one day and then wonder why I feel like shit the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nor did I even think twice about this shooting pains in my stomach.
Oh, yay.
So, anywho.
Yeah. But a standing desk has been helpful, and I think that'll help as well in this process.
I love it. And that was after getting the dry needling in my back.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah.
so tense.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I need to not fall into that trap again.
Yeah, and that's been helpful. Mm-hmm. And also in us training for 2 weeks now, your shoulders have felt better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I totally forgot I had a pinch in my right shoulder.
Yep.
And I said, this isn't healthy. This isn't good. I don't have shoulder pain.
Yeah, no, that's not you.
I don't have pains in my joints.
Yeah, knock on wood.
And that's when Rob said, how often do you hear about someone having pains in their joints or anything, and they make life more uncomfortable for themselves, and they work through it, and they correct their posture by doing exercises. They strengthen the muscles around the joints. It doesn't happen all the time.
No,
but
too often.
I already don't have pain 2 weeks later.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, my shoulder hurts. I guess I just shouldn't do anything. Like, you're already not doing anything.
Yeah. Where's that got you?
Yeah. How is sitting doing nothing when you've been sitting doing nothing?
That's what
make it better.
And part of that's right. Part of the standing desk was because I was hunched over. A little bit of depression too, right? You're just not exactly. Yay! It's sitting upright, my posture's straight, and I'm ready to tackle the day.
Yeah.
Having the standing desks allows me to.
It does upright someone's posture.
That.
Like there's like kyphosis and all these terms for like spinal positions, but it brings the head more centered above your hips. So rather than your head being out in front of you, which can cause, especially women, when you have the weight of your chest, it causes that hump on the 7th vertebra of the upper back, causes that hump to be extended. So a standing desk brings your head more in line. Now you're like paranoid. But it brings the head over the hips more and uprights the shoulder, pulls the shoulders back, and it can reduce that hump, which a lot of women can have, which aesthetically they might not want, but also leads to headaches and migraines. So a standing desk can be very helpful in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's my main notes for this week, leading into. So we're now going to be 22 weeks out. What do we expect to be doing over the next week? Well, we have a lot of travel coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have travel coming up over the next 2 weeks. So looking ahead to that, have you thought about what are some tactics or strategies that you might use to maintain your training and or nutrition while traveling?
Listen to my coach husband.
Yes.
Tell me what to do.
Yes.
I don't want to think.
Yeah, so that can be challenging. So we're going to Miami in the second half of this week.
For school.
Upcoming week, yep. So at school, you have access to food.
Yep.
Now, sometimes with the gluten sensitivity, we have to be a little careful on meats because sometimes they're cooked in something that, like a soy sauce or something.
Yeah.
But in general, what we're going to look to do is supplement protein at the beginning of the day. We'll probably use a core power because you like those drinks. And then we want to supplement protein at the end of the day, so probably use another core power. Now, you could use any protein powder. You could use things like cheese sticks, Greek yogurt, other whole foods if you wanted. But we want something at the beginning of the day to get protein in, something at the end of the day to get protein in, because we know typically when people travel, protein content goes down.
Tanks, big time.
Horrible. So we want to make sure we account for protein. And then during the day, you do have access to food at breakfast, at lunch, and at dinner. So what we're going to choose is, okay, on my plate, what's going to give me protein? That would be the first thing I would consider when putting together a meal, is what can I have access to here that has protein? So typical meal options when you're at school, what are some protein options they give you?
Breakfast, there's always eggs.
Okay,
Lunch, there's always some kind of meat and vegetable.
good.
And same with dinner.
Yeah.
The options are there if you want to eat well. People just feel like they have to force the shit food in their face.
Well, sometimes, like, if you're in an environment like that, you're like, well, my tuition is paying for this food.
I'm going to get my money's worth.
I'm going to get my money's worth. Yeah, and it's
yeah, but I'm also not going to pay for cellulite on my ass.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes. And, for something like Kellogg or like grad school, you're not making up your cost in food.
Yeah. Go ahead and eat 10 million kind bars.
Yes, exactly. But that would be something say, okay, for each meal, what am I going to eat that gives me protein? And a general serving size, that would be, yep.
I just pointed to my palm.
Yep. So, a couple recommendations would be is if you have a higher than average, we'll say an average protein intake, would be like a deck of cards or like the palm of your hand. So if you look at your hand, cut off your fingers, cut your hand off of the wrist, that's a portion size. Now, if you are usually protein around body weight, it's more so the size of your fist. So make a fist and then cut your hand off at the wrist, and that is the serving size you'd want. And that's going to be on the upper end of protein, but that gets usually people enough to where they get around body weight. So that would be an idea for protein. And then for carbs and fats, really for there, I would typically tell people, especially in your experience, like at your level, eat what you feel like you need. Meaning, if you're sitting on your butt in class, not doing too much, you probably don't need a lot of carbs and fats.
You don't need to eat.
Yeah. So I would usually recommend about an equal portion of carbs, protein item, to your protein. So if you do a fist of protein, do a fist of a carb. Whether that's pasta, potatoes, rice, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And that's usually going to put together a pretty decent meal.
Can chickpeas be a carb if I put it on a salad?
Chickpeas are actually a good blend. They have a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs.
That's why I was asking, what would you consider
that? 50-50.
Okay, cool.
Yep, so 2 fists of chickpeas. No. But considering...
It's like our Greek yogurt post.
Yeah. Just so much. So if you have you're putting together a salad, you might put 1 or 2 hard-boiled eggs. Yep. That's not the size of your fist. So then you do a little bit of chickpeas. Then maybe you'll find a little bit of maybe they have tofu crumbles. Yeah. Whatever, so you kind of... But the vegans, vegetarians still eat it.
Yeah.
But you might have to put together items. So you might not have a singular source that puts together your protein. You might put together a mixed source. And especially vegans, vegetarians, you're going to have to do that all the time because a lot of your protein sources carry carbs.
I'll have you come down and make my plates at breakfast.
That would be great. I wouldn't mind that because that's snacks and food for me. Yeah. Yeah.
It's part of the experience, right? Of how do I do a show when life is crazy? Yes.
So if you're talking about we're 22 weeks out, we're not going to just not do things for 22 weeks. You can't just not travel to school. You can't not go to doctor's appointments. You can't shut down all of life for 22 weeks. Right. So you got to figure out how to work around that. I actually have a podcast that I think would be helpful for people to listen to. It is a podcast titled "What Makes a Good Meal Good." So the reason why I think that would be helpful is it can help you figure out how do you put together a meal. So that's podcast 1537. To find that podcast, you're likely going to have to go to our website, scroll down on the homepage, you'll see our podcast player that we have there. That only goes back 300 episodes. But underneath that are instructions on how to find older podcasts. So if you follow the instructions, you can search for the term good meal. And then that'll pull up podcast 1537. You might even be able to find that on YouTube. All of our podcasts, most of our podcasts are on YouTube. There was a section of time where YouTube and Podbean were grumpy with each other, and I didn't get all the podcasts synced up in the middle. But podcast 1537 is a really good podcast for learning how to put together a good meal. So we have that coming up. How are we going to manage training? Well, we're going to train like a beast before we go. So we want to create a lot of muscle damage so that way on, I believe it's Wednesday, we'll be traveling. That if we don't work out on one of the days, totally fine. You have muscle damage from the previous day carrying over. Then when we get to the hotel, we might work out 20 minutes or so before classes start. Maybe 20 minutes at the end of the day and just deal with it at the end of the day. We've done a squat challenge in hotel rooms. What's that movie? What's that song by? Flower.
Moby.
Yeah, so
Green Sally up.
Green Sally up, Green Sally down. Yeah, that was awful. That was
Painful.
fantastic. But it's just finding what you can, but knowing that it doesn't have to be an hour in the gym.
Right.
20 minutes nonstop, very focused can be plenty enough.
Right. 20
to
minutes.
create damage.
15, 15, 15, 20, 20. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and one of the ways you also work around that is just train the same muscles in a row.
Yes.
So if you normally do, chest, then back, then legs, then shoulders, you're not going to do that when you travel. You're going to do either if I know I'm going to train,
legs.
whole body, or upper, lower. Just train the body parts more frequent if you can't train them as much. Yeah, that's a simple, easy workaround.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yep. Is there anything you think about you want to add to this podcast?
Like now?
Right now.
Right now.
Literally. All the words next.
I think we covered all of the changes or things that popped up. Oh, one thing is I want it to be harder already.
Okay, unpack that.
That's dangerous.
Okay, well, I understand that answer. So
I want it to
there's no time limit. You can take as long as you want to.
I want it to feel more uncomfortable.
Yes, why? I know the answer. But why?
I feel like the more uncomfortable you are, the more progress you're making.
Ooh.
That's a hard thing to undo.
Well, it's challenging because there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
There's some truth, but then there's also some too much to that. Yeah. So, to make progress, to create something new, you have to do new.
Yeah.
Typically, new is uncomfortable.
Do new.
Yes.
Do new, boo-boo.
Yeah, do new. But you have to do something more than you've done before. Or harder, or there just has to be some more challenge to it. Yeah. So there's a degree of challenge, but then there's too much challenge. Do you have an example in your past where you've done too much challenge? Just name
Pick
one.
Yeah. An hour of weights followed by 90 minutes on a stairmill,
Oof.
followed by a CrossFit workout later that day.
And probably 1,200 calories.
Yep. 1,400 calories.
Oof.
There's one example.
Okay. Yes, we could just go through your whole life. Yeah. So desperate for change.
I want to be hungrier. I want to sweat more.
Yes. Now, why aren't we?
Because we don't need to.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we're 22 weeks away.
Exactly. Like I said, we don't need to.
Yeah. We just don't need it at this point. So one of the ways to think of it is you're taking your body on a journey. So we are going to...
The more you know.
Yes. Yeah. Shooting the rainbow.
You sound like an after-school special, Rob.
I love it. We're taking our body on a journey. Yes. What I mean by that is there are steps to the process. If you just skip right to the end and say, okay, if I'm starting at 2,400 calories, I'm going to take a big fat guess that I might finish at 1,600.
Yep.
So I'm just going to start eating 1,600 now.
Nope.
And I'm going to take a big fat guess that my training is going to end up being a full intense hour on quads, 2 days later an hour on hamstrings. I'm going to maybe have to start adding cardio in. If you just fast forward to the end, what ends up happening is you put your body in a state that is far surpassing its ability to manage. So you'll get an initial fat loss, you'll get an initial change, but then the body actually shuts down.
Plateau.
The body turns into a protection mode.
Yep.
To where like say for example, or I kind of say it as like you're stealing candy from a kid.
Stealing a kid from candy.
Yes. I would definitely want the candy. Not the kid. But if you're stealing candy from a kid, let's say after Halloween, the kid has 100 pieces of candy, and you want to be a jerk face and steal some candy from the kid. You can take one swipe and maybe get 30 pieces, but the kid knows it. They're going to see that, right? They're going to see a change from 100 to 70, and then all of a sudden they protect their candy, they hide it, and you can never get any more. Or you can take 1 or 2 pieces. No one notices the difference between 100 and 98. Then the next day, another 1 or 2 pieces. Next day, another
Until
2
you're
pieces.
me and you only have 1 Reese's left after Halloween.
Yes, and then you're my
Because
poor
your
wife.
husband.
Yes, whose husband stole everything. But if you do that from like taking candy from the kid at 1 or 2 pieces at a time, what ends up happening is the kid doesn't notice, and then over time you can actually get more away. You can actually steal more candy. So if we convert this to body fat, we're trying to take body fat off our body at a rate in which the body is okay with it. Where it'll sense 1 or 2 pounds being taken off, and it'll go, okay. And then another 1 or 2 pounds taken off, okay. What we don't want is, 10 pounds in 2 or 3 weeks. Then the body says, oh my gosh, I am so far, like I'm so depleted. I've lost all my resources. I now need to protect against that process. It'll reduce its calorie allocation to non-essential processes, like growing your hair, skin, your nails. So it'll spend less calories on things it doesn't need. And it now will sit and wait. And every single time you eat, there's a momentary surplus. It'll store that. And then whenever there's a momentary deficit, it'll start to catabolize protein. It'll start to catabolize muscle mass. And this is why people who are anorexic can't anorexic themselves all the way down to like a stage-ready competition. They end up looking like they're very soft and pudgy, even though they're very, very light, because they eventually lose muscle faster than they lose body fat. So if you just go right to the end, it actually negates an enormous part of the process. You're going to get an initial change, but then you're going to get nothing.
Right. Yep.
Nothing. So we have to take this step by step by step. We have to take it on a journey. That's a good circle right back there. That's pretty good.
It's like the frog in the boiling water. You can't throw a frog in water, but it'll
so we have to
tolerate it.
boil you. So
Perfect.
that's the process. Crank up the heat little bit by little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a really good analogy.
What's our workout today? Legs?
Yes,
Glutes?
we're doing legs. Well, when we pushed our intensity a little bit,
Yeah.
you said that your lower back was feeling a smidge stiff.
Yeah.
So we're going to do lower back friendly. So we're going to do lying leg curl and hack squat.
Ooh. Okay.
Yep. So we're going to do that. So we're going to start to alternate a little bit where the thing that we did that started to not annoy your back.
Not annoyed.
No, it's just your lower back was used more than it has been in the process so far.
Yeah.
Was we pushed our weight load on some staggered stance stiff leg deadlifts because we really want to grow the lower glutes.
Yes.
So we went up heavier. Do you remember what weight we got to? Was it 30s? Or
30s each hand.
That was it, yeah. So 60 pounds total on split stance stiff leg deadlifts, or basically RDLs, kind of like an RDL. So that was really good for lower glutes, but it definitely does cause the lower back to contract to brace and hold position. Now, as we do that more often, the back will get used to it and you'll be fine.
Right. It wasn't painful. It was just kinesthetic awareness of that was worked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now to avoid it being painful, we're going to start to do like an every other day. So every other workout, every other lower body workout, we will load the spine and then not load the spine, load the spine,
Cool.
not load the spine. And for our equipment we have in the home gym, we do have the lying leg curl, we have the hack squat, and neither one of those load the spine. Yes, I know, it's pretty big blessing, huge blessing. So like the other workout, we did our Squat Pro, Roger Squat Pro, which is an uprighted squat, but it's still going to be some lower back bracing because it's
you're
free.
forward.
It's like a free weight. Your body can move.
It's really cool. I'd never used that before.
Yeah,
It's
so
awesome.
we did the split stance RDLs and the Squat Pro, and that was our workout last time. That definitely would have caused lower back bracing and stability.
Yeah.
So now we're going to take away the lower back bracing and stability, so it's hack squat and lying leg curls.
Okay.
Yep.
Fun.
Awesome. So we're going to get into that, and then maybe this week we'll film some stuff and kind of share along the way.
Yeah.
What's been going on. We'll show some photos on Instagram
Okay.
of our foods and whatnot.
Yeah.
Keep everybody engaged.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's fun.
Cool. So everything you want to say?
Yes.
Okay. So we survived another week, and then we'll tune in next week to see what's going on.
At 21 weeks.
Yeah, woot woot.
Thank you. It was fun.
Awesome. So if anybody has any questions or if you have any suggestions what you want to hear in the podcast or see on YouTube, just shoot us a message on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. While you're on there, you can see some of the free nutrition information, free training information we have, the services that we offer. You can read through those. If you want any help, it's there, whether you want to pay for it or not. Just a lot of free stuff, a lot of good content on the website. And then if you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people the podcast can help. And then if you like the podcast, you can consider donating to support the podcast. There's a high hosting cost every year. So you can donate towards that. And we greatly appreciate the people who do that. So thank you very, very much. And you can do that on the website. And then if you like the information we share in the podcast, we do share other types of information on Instagram and YouTube. So definitely check us out. And if you do check us out, follow us. The more people that follow those kind of social media channels, it increases the reach of those channels, so therefore we can help more people. So thank you if you check us out, and then thank you if you follow us on those things. And both places, Instagram and YouTube, we're under the name Brutal Iron Gym. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then as always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.